Data Systems.
Hey guys, Casey here from Freefall Data Systems, and in this video I'm going to give you a thorough overview of our third generation audible altimeter and data logger, SonoAlti 3. Let's first take a look at the device itself. The case is made of hard coat anodized aluminum, and the speaker on the unit is located right here, and that should generally face your ear. On the side you can see a USB port that is for charging as well as for firmware updates and sharing settings. You've got a settings button at the top and a Bluetooth button on the bottom. If I hold down the top button, it'll tell me which preset it is currently on, and if I hold it down, I can select the next preset, and if I can keep holding it down, I cycle through all of them. And back to 1. The number of beeps you hear corresponds to the current preset. We'll get to this Bluetooth button in a bit, but I should mention here that you can check the battery life on the unit by holding down both buttons at once and counting the number of beeps. So that was 9 beeps, that's going to be 90%, so each beep would represent 10%. You can also check this in the app under Info. There's also an internal reset button on the altimeter that you can't see here that is located next to the settings button that can be accessed with a paper clip. This button's also used for firmware updates and sharing settings as well. SonoAlti 3 is a low-power rechargeable device that can get up to 4 months of battery life between charges, depending on how it's used. It's got an always-on design, so you don't need to worry about whether it's on when you go to the DZ. If you travel to a different elevation, it'll adjust automatically. How long the battery lasts will depend on the settings used, frequency of use, as well as environmental factors like heat, cold, or humidity. To charge the unit, simply plug the unit in and wait till the red light goes off, which can take up to around 3 hours or so. By the way, there is an automatic low battery alert if you get down to 10% that you will hear at 1,000 feet. Alright, let's now take a look at how to set the device. The FDS-Alti's app can be downloaded on Google Play or in the App Store. Now, as mentioned before, the preset you want to use has to be selected on the device itself with this preset button. You'll need to make sure that Bluetooth is enabled on your device and that you're in close proximity to your altimeter. After reading the warning and agreeing to the limits of the liability agreement, go ahead and put your altimeter into Bluetooth mode by holding the bottom button. This should make the blue light flash. This means that it's in Bluetooth mode but not yet connected. On Android, the type of device is automatically recognized, although you might have to press scan. Currently on iOS, you have to select the altimeter type and press connect and sync. You should see your device display like this. These last 5 digits of the serial number of your unit. If you watch the FDS logbook instructional video linked in the description of this video, you'll see that the 5-digit serial number can also be used as a discount code for 1 year free use of FDS logbook. Tap it and you should see the blue light go solid as it connects. Let's just quickly look at info at the bottom here to see what's shown there. You can see we again have the serial number, current battery status, the number of jumps currently on the flash memory, and the current firmware. Above info, you can see data syncing. Now, as I mentioned, there's another full instructional video dedicated to FDS logbook linked in the description of this video, so you might take a look at that as well. Basically, you can see here that I have a bunch of DZs listed, aircraft, and equipment that I previously set up. This lets the app know what equipment I was jumping, what plane I was in, and what DZ I was at when I'm data syncing. I can select these things from here as well from within FDS logbook. Then if I click on data syncing at the bottom, you can see that this is where I can actually take data off the altimeter. What happens is when I download the files from the altimeter, they're erased from the altimeter, and then they're only on the mobile device. If I press upload all files, they're then entered into FDS logbook via Wi-Fi. There's a lot of exciting stuff you can do with FDS logbook, so definitely check that video out if you get a chance. Let's move on to settings. If we click on main, these are basically the settings that affect every preset. I can change the center frequency, for example, making them either higher or lower pitched. I can choose to disable logging. I can put the device into a metric mode, a travel mode. I'd only use this if you really think you need it. Long trips, perhaps plane flights, don't accidentally turn this on because it disables the altimeter, although the buttons will still work. After this, for logging, you can set your next jump number. Then for convenience, if you only want to make a small change on one preset from another, you can copy, for example, preset 1 to preset 3 as such. Just type the number of the presets in and press the button. Okay, as mentioned earlier, there are 5 presets, and by default, each preset has the same settings. We'll see what those are now as we go ahead and look at preset 1. Let's take a look at what's under General. So here at the top, you can enter a landing zone offset. Most people don't have one of those, so of course the default is 0. It will actually describe in words what you're doing if you input a value here. If your landing zone is actually lower than your takeoff altitude, then you would, for example, put in negative 200 feet would be an example. And it would tell you you've indicated your landing area is 200 feet below your takeoff altitude. So just to make sure that you understand what you're inputting here, positive number, for example, 140 feet. You've indicated your landing area is 100 feet above your takeoff altitude. Let's return that to 0. This next option is useful for wingsuiters or those using tracking suits. This default value of 80 miles per hour is actually what Freefall Data Systems uses as a threshold to indicate that a jumper is in freefall and not under canopy. But those who wingsuit are falling slower than this most of the time in flight. So if you're a wingsuiter with a small suit, you might input something like 40 miles per hour. If you've got a large suit or doing XRW or something like that, you might put in something as low as 20 miles per hour. Disable freefall alarms disables the audio for freefall below a certain altitude. This could be useful for swoopers, for example, who want to be sure to get the alarms for a canopy below a certain altitude, even if they're above that freefall threshold displayed here. So you could put in something like 1,300 feet if I think I may exceed 80 miles per hour, and then I can be sure that I get the canopy alarms from that point. Below this, you can see that you can adjust the volume for each individual phase of the skydive, as we'll see in a moment: ascent, freefall, or canopy. Let's now take a look at where you can set alarms. If you look at the very bottom, you can see we've got ascent, freefall, and canopy. And for ascent, the defaults are that there is an alarm at 1,500 feet. You can notice that if I tap on them, I can preview them. And at 12,000 feet, conceived of as a kind of gear check. To get rid of an alarm, swipe left on iOS, like this. On Android, hold down. To insert an alarm, simply type the altitude in, select an alarm, and press insert. The alarms highest up in the list are primarily conceived for freefall, and they are higher pitched. In the middle, you'll find more mid-range frequencies, and at the bottom, you'll find lower frequencies that are conceived more for canopy and ascent in the aircraft. There's a list on our website at freefalldatasystems.com/SonoAlti_3_sounds where you can listen to all these sounds in one place. On ascent, these alarms that you input will sound for 4 seconds, whereas in freefall, you input a range. So for example, you can see as default, we have high long beeps from 6,000 to 5,500 feet. And then we have from 4,500 feet to 4,000 feet, high short beeps, followed by a fast siren from 3,000 down to 2,500 feet. How long these last will depend on your speed in freefall. At 120 miles per hour, for example, these will all last approximately 3 seconds. The interface is made, by the way, that I can input altitude range here, and it will automatically overwrite what is currently in that altitude range. Under canopy as well, you can input a range in which you'd like to hear an alarm. By default, you can see we used low short beeps from 1,000 down to 950 feet, low medium beeps from 600 down to 550 feet, and then a flat line from 300 to 250 feet. All right, to wrap things up, let's go ahead and take a look at how to update the firmware on the altimeter. If you go to freefalldatasystems.com/SonoAlti_3_firmware, you can download the newest firmware file. Go ahead and download that file. Plug the altimeter into your computer, double-click the reset button. This has to be a fast double tap, and the drive should appear on your computer as Featherboot. If it doesn't, it could be that your cable is only intended for charging, or that your computer will not allow the connection for security reasons. In this case, try it with different hardware. After the drive appears, simply drag the new firmware file onto the drive. You should hear the altimeter emit a startup sound. You can always check the firmware number under Info as we saw earlier. Okay, there might be cases where you want to share your settings with another jumper. To do this, plug your altimeter just as before and double tap the reset button quickly. A drive should appear again on your computer. If you look at this file on the altimeter, current.uf2, this is the file you need. Save it on your computer. Plug another altimeter in, double tap the reset button on the second unit, and drag the current.uf2 onto that new altimeter. When it asks you if you want to replace the file, click yes. That's it, and you should hear the startup sound as before. If you ever have any issues with your altimeter, you can always send us a message describing the problem as best you can, or give us a call and we can try to figure it out. If the altimeter doesn't react to button presses, try charging it up. Another thing you can do is try giving the reset button a single tap. Don't double tap it or it'll be put into bootloader mode used for firmware updates or sharing. There's also the chance that the altimeter was inadvertently put into travel mode, as we discussed earlier. Check that under main. That pretty much concludes this instructional video for SonoAlti 3. If you have any specific questions, you're always welcome to contact us through our contact form or email us or give us a call. We're always very quick with customer service and appreciate you. Take care and stay safe up there.
Freeform Data Systems.